Hey there, and welcome to Fall here at We Read It One Night, the podcast where romance veterans and new recruits chat about romance novels. Today, we're actually making summer last a little bit longer by talking about listener-suggested Happy Place by Emily Henry. And I am joined by a special guest host, Kayla, who's appropriately, at least for this book, both my college roommate and currently in Maine. In this episode, we get personal and a little silly while asking the important questions that we know you want the answers to, such as, does Emily Henry eat pot brownies? And how can we get access to a boat? As always, please leave us a rating and review while you're listening, and check out the links in the description to our Etsy and Buy Me a Coffee profiles. Now, join us as we take you to your happy place, aka this podcast, and enjoy the show. Anyway, it's one of those days, and my Ritalin hasn't kicked in yet. Okay, welcome, listener, to Happy Place by Emily Henry. I was ready to say Julia Whalen because she does the audiobooks and she does like all of Emily Henry's audiobooks. This is a listener suggestion, unsurprisingly, because y'all are big Emily Henry fans. And today I am joined by my good friend, appropriately for this book, former college roommate, Kayla Wolf. She is going to be the first in a series of really exciting guest hosts that we're going to have. Rachel is still around. She's still going to be doing episodes like at least once a month, but she is very overwhelmed. So she's taking like a step back so this can keep being fun instead of like just being a chore that she has to do. So that means that we get exciting new people on the podcast like Kayla. And it also means that instead of hearing the same stories from Rachel and I over and over and over again from our childhood, you get new stories because I'm talking to a different person.
Yes, new stories from college, from beyond, all the dirty things about Allison from college.
Kayla has stories like with a capital S. But Kayla, I don't know if you want to like introduce yourself beyond that.
Sure. I'm Kayla. So I will admit I historically have been a bit of a romance skeptic. However, I do dabble. And I was really excited to read Emily Henry's book, Happy Place. I've read The People We Meet on Vacation before, so I'm familiar. I think I'm just excited to talk about this book.
Emily Henry is good for people who are sort of like on the fence about romance too, because she's straddles women's fiction and romance. So we'll start. I listened to the audiobook. I know that you didn't. I actually have the hardcover because I went into my local bookshop and to like look for a notebook and they didn't have what I wanted. And then I felt bad for going in there and not buying anything. And they were having a sale on hardcovers. So I was like, okay, I'll just buy Happy Place, even though I intended to only like to buy the paperback because like I didn't, whatever. Anyway,
the guilt purchase.
Now I have the guilt purchase.
I am not sponsored by the LA Public Library, but I'm a big supporter of the LA Public Library. So this book was brought to you by their massive selection of ebooks because I am a broke graduate student and again, big supporter of libraries. So I'm very lucky that it came in from the library. Like,
oh, I'm so glad because you were talking about how you might need to buy it. And I was like, I felt so bad.
Which is fine. You know, I can buy a book, but I was really excited. It was 6 weeks to 4 weeks to 2 weeks, you know. Love that. I have an LA Public Library. I live in LA membership, a New York Public Library, and a Western Pocono Community Library as I'm from the Poconos in good old Pennsylvania. So we have all the library cards stacked up, ready to go.
I sadly got kicked off the New York Public Library because I no longer have a New York address. And like, I guess it like came time to renew and I did not have a New York address to give them.
Fair. Yeah. I don't know how I've skirted around that, honestly, because I haven't lived in New York in 4 years.
Was a while. I got the New York Public Library at the very beginning of the pandemic, like March 20th is when I like did that. So like, it took a while for them to kick me off.
Yeah, hopefully some grace during COVID too. You know,
I think that's what it was too. They were like extending. Yeah, I have the Philadelphia Public Library, which you can get as a Pennsylvania with a Pennsylvania address, Kayla. Excellent. Just so you know, like anyone that lives in Pennsylvania and Nashville because my sister, and that's where I listened to Happy Place.
Oh,
And
there you
then
go.
a suburb of Philadelphia where I live.
Yes, that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. We're a big fan of libraries on here.
We love libs.
We love libs.
Libraries.
Well, we love libs too.
We love libs too.
Love
but in this context, libraries. And you know what? Libs love libs too. You know,
libs love libraries. I saw a post that was like, if they tried to like invent libraries today, certain people would like claim it's like, oh, it's like an extravagance and like all that. It's like, okay.
I mean, I get so many emails still from the New York Public Library about like, they're cutting our funding. And I'm like, no, libraries.
They are. Because I have a friend that works there. She like works in their like contracts department. And she's like, I think they recently had a victory though. They were like, there was like something where she was like, the mayor's not going to like cut this aspect of our funding.
Yeah. I mean, I could go on a whole tangent about libraries. I think they're one of the most underutilized resources ever.
Yeah.
Not only for books and ebooks, but also just for workshops. And I was an adult literacy tutor at the LA Public Library for a while, and there were so many cool free resources for people. You can learn languages and get free online courses.
Yeah, exactly. No, you can get like, yeah, like everything. And like even just like a quiet place to study, you know what I mean? Like,
yes,
instead of going to your local cafe, just like go to the library.
Yeah, if you can't afford the $6 coffee 5 days a week, then maybe do it once or twice and go to the library the other ones. You know, that's what I do.
Exactly. Yeah. No. Yeah. I love the last time I went to my library, they were having some sort of like kids book event that it was like, I was like, that looks delightful. I'm too big for all of the things that they are doing, but
yeah,
I would love that.
It. And I feel like, I don't know, I might be making this up, but I do feel like I have a memory of our library having like events where you could read to dogs for kids who weren't confident with their reading.
Oh, I've heard of that.
To dogs because it's like a very safe audience who's just excited to sit near you and be pet. So I think, anyway, libraries.
That's definitely a thing. I've heard of that. Yeah.
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 Bonus points if they're adoptable. Bonus points if you take one home.
I want a dog. My cats would murder me in my sleep, though, if I did that. Yeah, they're already close. One of them is already close to murdering me because she has to take antibiotics and she won't take them, even though when I crush them up in her food. So I had to buy a baby syringe in which I put her little cat Go-Gurt with her crushed up pill mixed in and then like forcibly squirt it in her mouth. Because I was like, you brought this upon yourself. I tried pill pockets. Like I tried to do this the nice way.
I think I'm still stuck a little bit on cat Go-Gurt, which is incredible.
They're
that
great.
Exists. My dad was allergic to cats growing up, so I've never. My roommate has a cat now. We love her. Her name's Bernie. Shout out. But I have never really had a cat, and neither did anyone in this book.
No, but there were several comparisons.
Yes, like
explicitly to cats. Yes, like I was like interesting. I was like, Emily Henry, do you listen to the podcast?
Yeah. Why are you describing them? You know,
I was like together? What an interesting choice of words.
No, I did a Control F on my Kindle.
Oh, did you?
I absolutely did. I was like, did I miss it?
Oh my gosh.
There's no Flannery O'Connor in this book. The name of the cat.
And the other O'Connor also dies and people would be on vacation, which is tragic.
Why do we include pet deaths? You know, I feel like the first. Okay, actually, side tangent. My mom is a third grade teacher, and she loves. I forget what book it is, but it's the first book she said where her kids like show emotion from reading, and it's a book where a dog dies.
Oh,
I'm like, why do they read that? And she's like, because it's exciting to show them that like reading can bring about, you know, these fictional stories can bring about real emotions, and it's a great book. And I'm like, I hear that. Anyway. Now I'm thinking about like the worst fictional pet deaths. Like, what's the movie with Will Smith with the zombies?
Oh, I Am Legend.
I Am Legend. Oh, that's up there. That's up in the top tier. This is a morbid rant.
No, not dog death, but there's also Bridge to Terabithia.
That one got me. That one got me as a kid.
That's the kids. That's what your mom should read. That's the kids to try.
Yeah, for real. Anna Sophia Robb and Josh Hutcherson.
Yeah.
He was my big crush. He was my first celebrity crush. All of our
big crush.
Yeah.
There is a lot of trauma in today's book. Not in the present day, but like generational trauma. A lot of this whole book is generational trauma. This book is for the young millennial who doesn't know what to do with their life.
Oh gosh, relatable.
This book was so well, it's funny because listener, before Kayla's in Maine right now, which is funny because this book, The Happy Place, is a beach house in Maine. But I also had a personal connection because like me and my friend group from high school go to my one friend's parents' beach house, which is exactly like every summer as well. And I also slept in the kids' room. Like that was like our room with like why this is so much like, and I also don't know what to do with my life. And I also had an emotionally unavailable childhood. So it's like, what's going on?
Yeah, I know.
I'm really going to try not to like make this like a therapy session, or not even a therapy, but just like a trauma dumping session where I'm just like, oh my God. Also like not to expose my family.
Yeah. Like, oh, this part was too real. But this part was fun, right? When they got high on the Ferris wheel. Great.
Okay, so it's a friend group. There are 6 of them. The OG trio is Sabrina, Cleo, and Harriet. Harriet is our main character. I just want to say the couple in this is Harriet and Wyn. And Wyn has always been a girl's name for me, like Winnie, Winifred, like that kind of stuff. When I first read the description of this book, I was like, is Emily Henry writing a sapphic romance at No, she wasn't. It was a boy. There were no pronouns in that initial description, like for Wyn. So I was like,
true. Also, interesting name choices. Harriet.
Yeah.
Like I don't know. I don't think I know a single person named Harriet except for maybe Harriet Tubman, right? So like, and not personally, but I don't know anyone with that name.
Not personally. So, I like the disclaimer. Personal. I don't actually know.
I do not know her. I hope she one day makes it on our currency. I know that's
she's well
in the works, but you know, God knows.
Yeah, she's great.
She's doing well. Yeah, name choice was interesting. I was like Harriet and Wyn. Gender neutral? Question mark? Yes.
Well, Wyndham I feel like Wyndham is appropriately mannish.
Mannish, yeah. I like that.
Man. She always kind of picks slightly odd, like not weird names, but like, like Poppy, and then January is the name of the character in Beach Read, which is like her first, not her first book, but her first like one of these books, like where she kind of broke out. And then I forget the name of the character in Book Lovers. Probably because I read that with my eyeballs and I didn't retain as much.
Fair.
Yeah. So it's them. They're college roommates and their friendship is so beautiful and I love it. And Kayla, I want to know, where is our college roommate annual trip?
I know. I think we need one. I always read this kind of book and I'm jealous. Like I have great relationships and we obviously still talk and great relationships with my college roommates, but I'm like, damn, did I miss out on some core like connection that we do something every year? Because they went deep. As much as this was about Harriet and Wyn, it was about their friendship too.
Yeah. No, it was very much. I think that's why Emily Henry tends to like straddle, not necessarily because all of her books are about friendship, because there's always like something, there's like a layer in addition to the romance. I was jealous. I was like, should we go like in the fall? Like a long day weekend?
Can we? There were 4 of us. There are 4 of us too. Well, no, there are 3 of them. So we'll make it happen. I'm in Maine right now. Come on up.
Yes, exactly. You can give us recommendations.
I unfortunately do not have a mansion beach house, nor a red Jaguar, nor a wealthy papa. So our trip would be a little bit different.
Little budget friendly.
We can still get lobster rolls and whatever else feels Maine appropriate.
So the premise is that they're all going to their beach house that they go to every summer, and Wyn is on her way and she gets picked up by Sabrina's like, she's like blonde Audrey Hepburn is what she's compared to. She's very like Kennedy coded, like Kennedy family coat, like I
agree. But like a cool, almost like a Princess Diana of like rebellious, cool, rich, but down to earth.
Yeah. And then Cleo is Cleo. I could not stop.
I don't know. I can't take that. Is Cleo a name or is Cleo a nickname for something? It's just it's a name, right?
Cleopatra.
Oh, okay.
But I think it's just Cleo. The name. I don't think it's like Cleo. Oh no, I've gotten water again. I've gotten white again. We're talking about H2O just as water, in case you haven't seen that one guy.
Oh my gosh, I was obsessed with that show as a child.
Yeah.
Arr. Anyway.
Arr.
But
Anyway,
yes, Cleo.
yeah, Cleo. I wanted to name one of my cats Cleopatra, and my
That's
family
cute.
vetoed me. And
Oh.
when they were still pretending it was like a family, they were going to be a family cat, so they deserved to say the name.
Oh.
And then after, because it was supposed to be my mom's cat, but my sister and I had to promise that like we would take, if my mom was like, I can't actually handle these cats.
Yeah.
That like we would take them. So like they became my cats very quickly.
Got it.
Within like a month. But yeah, I was like, this is also, I couldn't name them Cleopatra and Persephone.
Okay, those are pretty cute though. I like those. I love a pun. I love a pun. Friend has 2 cats with clever names. Oh, she has 2 cats named Watson. What is it? Something and Hobbs? Calvin and Hobbs.
Oh, that's cute.
I like that.
Yeah.
I've never met them, but I've heard they're very cute.
They're definitely cute. Just because they're cats.
Just because they're cats.
Yeah. Anyway, so Sabrina, Cleo, she's a Black woman. I don't know that it's ever stated, but she's described as having dark skin and like long braids.
Yes. Very alternative vibes and into the natural farming.
Yeah, she has a farm with her girlfriend, Kimmy, who's like a tall, ginger, Scandinavian, like extrovert who seems very overwhelming for me. Very much related to Cleo being like, I'm an introvert, and my girlfriend is like the complete opposite.
Yeah, I don't drink, I don't smoke, I'm just chilling, and my girlfriend is the center of everygoing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and then Harriet, she's a resident. She's in residency for doctorship. She's going to be a neurosurgeon. And then the boys are Parth, who is Sabrina's boyfriend, and they're also both lawyers. And he's like,
I feel like we get the least info about Parth.
He's just there. He's just hot and smart and
I'm like, I'm into
personable.
Parth. I don't know anything about him, but I'm like, he sounds.
You're like, from the surface.
From the surface, he looks great. And then he plays like a major plot a little bit later on with like some sort of texting thing.
Oh yeah, like a twit. There's like the twist at the end.
Yeah, which I thought that was fine. But yeah, he was just there.
He's there. Yeah, that their Harriet's relationship with Parth is definitely like the least developed. Well, and her relationship with Kimmy, like.
Yeah, agreed. I think Kimmy is a good like keep the vibes high person.
Yes,
she's not going too deep during. Yeah, she is. She's like the fun relief of the weekend when things get tense.
Yeah, exactly. Except although Harriet is also the like she's the mediator. She's like a people pleaser. It's like a problem. And like throughout this whole book, she's constantly being told, you don't have to do that all the time. You can just let people figure it out themselves.
God, I feel like some parts of this book were so unrelatable to me, and then some parts I'm like, oh God, that's me.
Oh, I was like, oh no.
Like I am constantly doing that. I'm just like, oh, but you know what? Why don't we just meet in the middle? Let's do this thing. And then why step in?
I was like, I'm like half Wyn, and half Harriet, but like the toxic part, but like not the healthy parts.
I am the toxic parts of the 2 main characters who are dealing with a lot of shit.
Yeah. Wyn. So Wyn is the last one, and he was kind of the last one to join their friend group. And him and Harriet were together for like 10 years, I think.
I feel like I didn't realize how long it was until I picked up later that they were turning 30.
Yeah, they're like 30 and they met like second year of college. Yeah, so it's been like 10 years, and they were engaged for a long time, but they've recently broken up and they haven't told anyone, which you can get from the summary of this book that's like in the description. But Wyn is like, I guess like everyone else in the friend group is kind of like hyper successful in their fields. Like even though like Cleo and Kimmy are like farmers, they're like
doing well. Their co-op had sold out.
Yeah. And like Cleo has like, I don't know, like a famous like poet and like famous artist parents or like something like that. Like she comes from like culture with a capital C. And Wyn like is currently working in his parents' furniture repair business. It's the like family business. And like he like really struggled to graduate college.
Did he finish college? He did finish it.
I think he did finish them. It just took him an extra year.
Okay.
Yes, because at one point she does say he has a business degree.
Right. And there's no shame in that, because I think the average person takes more than just 4 straight years of college.
Yeah. exactly. Like college is the way we think about it in the US is fucked.
It is. There's no set time. Do it if you want, whenever, maybe, if it works
Kayla
for
says,
you.
as a future professor, you can take her
Yeah,
word for it because
you can take
Kayla's
my word for it.
steeped in academia.
I I am every day, every minute of every day. I am steeped too deeply in academia. I'm literally
Oh
writing
no.
job application materials before and after this call, so we're killing it.
Oh, all right. Yeah, let me know how those are going.
It's gonna be awesome. It's gonna be awesome. I digress.
You
Yes,
got it.
Wyn
You're brilliant.
Wyn
Yes.
is feeling some, I don't know what the like
He's very self-conscious. Like
he
he's
is.
very like he thinks he's stupid. Like he doesn't.
Yeah, a lot of self-deprecating.
Yeah, every time. And he like leans into it as like a defense mechanism. Like if someone says something even like mildly like that implies he's like less than, he's like, you know me, like ha ha ha.
Yeah, which is very much a defense mechanism. But it is, it's like this weird imposter syndrome in this friend group of, or even just of existing. Like, oh gosh, I went to
Yeah.
college, but I didn't really, what was that good for? I do furniture. And I think
Yeah.
I hate any like putting down any sort of, service industry or job or anything that doesn't
Yeah.
require a college degree. Like that's still some really talented stuff.
Yeah. I like heart, frankly.
Oh my
Like
gosh.
I've worked in food service and I worked a 9 to 5, and I know which one of those was more physically exhausting.
Absolutely. So poor Win is just having a crisis of confidence and a crisis of identity his whole life.
And it's also he also has like undiagnosed depression, which we find out
Yeah,
at
at the
the end
end.
because he like is like, yeah, I finally got treatment and was like, oh, it doesn't have to be this hard. And I was like, hard relate to that.
Yeah, that was a little
When
like I feel like that was kind of tossed in at the end there, and I was like, oh, okay,
I
okay.
feel yeah, I feel like it was a way to kind of really hammer in that he was ready to get back together with
Oh,
Harriet. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Because so listen to the way it's told in like dual timeline. It's like the current timeline and then flashbacks of like their relationship. And their relationship is basically just like watching a car accident and not being able to do anything about it, because I think especially the second time that I read it, it was just like so like knowing everything of like at the end, I was like, I can see exactly why you guys
yeah,
are gonna break up and you can't do anything about it.
yeah. I mean, and that's also the like I don't know. I feel like there were some big moves made in this book by the characters, by Harriet and Wyn, that just kind of were huge life moves. Like he moved to San Francisco for her, and they were like, what,
Yeah.
probably 23, 24. Like, holy cow, that's a big move, right? And then
Well, no. After
after,
that was for residency. So they'd
okay,
been
so maybe
living
they're a
together
little
in New
bit
York for
older.
4 years during medical school.
Okay, I do get their timeline a little bit confused. But even so, moving across the country for somebody when you have nothing there, right? No
I mean,
social
that's
support network and no
tough.
job, right?
Yeah.
And then I
Yeah.
don't
No,
want to
I mean,
spoil
that
the ending, but there's, again,
the
some big moves that
yeah,
are
which
made.
you kind of like, you're like, you're like, you don't necessarily see it coming, but at the end, you're like, yeah, that was really the only way
I mean,
this could have
the
ended.
right.
Not even just for their relationship, but like, not even just for the romance, but just like for Harriet as a character.
You think I have a bone to pick with the ending a little bit, I think. But maybe that's because I'm
Interesting.
a little bit of I'm putting on my logical social scientist brain and not my like to suspend disbelief and enjoy romance books brain. So
Yeah. No, but
maybe that's
I
me.
don't know. We'll talk about it by the end, but I don't
Yes,
know. For
yes.
me, I was like, this feels it wasn't not necessarily realistic, but like right. I don't know.
Okay.
We'll see. We'll talk
Right
about
and
it.
hella expensive.
So expensive. But I was also like,
So
honestly, like goals.
look, so I too, I'm not in residency, but I just finished year 4 of 5 of a graduate program. So I'm not in a hospital, but I'm in graduate school forever. And like,
Yeah.
I would love to quit what I'm doing and go do pottery. Like I can't
Mediocre
imagine
pottery.
mediocre pottery like part time. Oh my gosh. But
Oh, yeah.
alas, the real world and the capitalist hellscape that we live in comes a calling every day.
Yeah, that was the one thing where I was like, I think because I'm now paying for my own health insurance finally. So I'm like, the whole time I was like, what's your health insurance situation? You guys are both 30. Like, what's
Yeah.
going on? Especially like Wyn with his like, yeah.
Yeah. And I don't know what Montana state, you know, their health insurance is like, because you know, like in California, if you're not insured, you pay a tax penalty. So there are a lot of resources to purchase it for yourself through the state. But I know nothing about Montana. I have never been there. I would love to go to Glacier National Park, but
it's lovely. No glaciers though. I didn't see a single goddamn glacier there.
Why do they call
Maybe if you
that?
go in the winter, there used to be.
Oh, that's sad.
Climate change. I think if you go in the winter, you like do like one of the longer hikes, you may be able to like
well,
see.
I don't think I'll ever be hiking in the winter because that sounds cold.
Fair enough. Well, the tax penalty thing is like an Affordable Health Care Act.
It is.
So that's like every state.
But I think that was one that I don't remember. That was one of the things
they
that went to the Supreme Court. Yeah, I think originally it was in Obamacare, and then it went to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court struck down the individual mandate from a federal standpoint, but states could still choose to enact it if they wanted to.
I thought it was still like a...
Yeah, being as liberal as it is, we're like, be insured or else. Which like, I don't know.
That's its own
politics podcast. Yeah.
Okay, so they arrive at the beach. They arrive at the beach house. We just picked her up from the airport, and because they've broken up, like Wyn and Harriet were like, okay, we're gonna take turns at the beach house. But then Harriet walks in. Who's there?
Lo and behold, the ex-fiance.
Who could have seen this coming in a romance novel?
Oh man.
Not Harriet.
No, definitely not.
But it turns out and honestly, like from what we learned later, like I kind of have to admire the level of scheming from like Sabrina and Parth to like orchestrate all of this. Like when it really all comes to light, I'm like, that was pretty shitty, but I gotta respect it.
Yeah, and it all makes sense looking back at like the handful of times that Sabrina's like, oh no, switch, you go with Wyn, ha ha ha.
Yeah.
That are killing Harriet, but obviously made sense as part of the scheme.
Yeah, so Wyn's there, and it's revealed that the reason they're there is because Sabrina and Parth are engaged, which is shocking because Sabrina has trauma from divorced many times parents, and that they're also going to get married because this is the last summer at the beach house.
Done.
Oh no, because Sabrina's dad is selling. Which is the opposite of my experience with the beach house because my friend's parents just bought their first beach house. They were renting.
Good for them. So, oh, nice. This is one thing that I always think about with this book. And like, I've read, again, I don't read a lot of like the fun romance, but that's not fair. I read a lot of the like more popular romance that you see in the New York Times top 10.
You don't read like the tropey romance.
I don't read the tropey romances, but I've read most of the books by Taylor Jenkins Reid. And I think about that and I think about this, and it's like, it is so much easier to write a romance, or I don't know, I've never written one. Read a romance book, you make your characters rich, right? Because there's so many more possibilities. Like try writing this about anybody else, right? It's like all those books, it's like beautiful, rich, lives in Malibu, does these things. This book, we picked him up in the Jaguar. We flew into this tiny ass little airport, and I'm like, how much do those tickets cost?
Right.
But they're having a great time. Heartbreak that the family mansion is going away.
It definitely is a thing in romance in general that like sometimes they're like middle, like always one of them is usually like has money.
Give me a romance for the people. Give me
like there's a reason like billionaire romances, like millionaire romances, or even like in historical romances, there's a reason like they're all aristocrats or like business magnates. Like it's because sadly poor people, especially back then,
no romance on a budget for us.
Like it's hard. Like I've definitely read like a few working class romances, but like it's hard to pull those off.
For sure. Want. So anyway, rich, beautiful mansion, dad's selling
rich, beautiful people.
They're selling this very beautiful place, and it is Harriet's happy place. One of many times that she brings that up throughout the book, right? The title is very apt, I think.
Yeah, because we're introduced to her like listening to a meditation tape of like, go to your happy place.
Yeah, and it's there. She is there with her friends in their favorite place. And then, oh no, the ex-fiance who broke up with her in a 4-minute cold
I was like,
call.
what are you, Joe Jonas? Like, what's going on? Like,
yeah, I and then some self-restraint to not, I don't know, the box. So Wyn breaks up with her, a 4-minute phone call, and then ships her stuff home in 2 days. And I'm like, did he pay
immediately.
express shipping? He must have. Um,
Yeah.
and that's, oof, that hurts. No wonder she's a wreck.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, though I spent a long time being like, Wyn, what the fuck? I was like, I know there's gotta be some sort of explanation, but also like, Wyn, what the fuck?
Yeah. And then you're reading it, and my curiosity was increasing as I'm reading of like, what happened? Because then there's hints that there was another guy, and I was like, that would be a
Oh
bold
yeah.
to make the main character cheat on him. I was like, I don't think that is gonna happen. What is it? What could be so bad to end a 10-year relationship? And the way that they, like, I do really appreciate some of the writing here. I think Emily Henry, the way she describes their connection was really beautiful and just deep
Oh
and
yeah.
magnetic. So I'm like, how can he be your magnet and you nest into him like a cat, and
Yeah.
then he dumps you in 4 minutes? No explanation.
Yeah. But it makes sense. Like when you read all the flashbacks, you're like, oh, there was no other way that was gonna end. Like
Yeah.
with the way. Yeah, no, I thought it was really interesting because we get a flashback like right after the scene of the first time they meet. And I just felt like you get like they're really like awkward, but it's also like they mesh really, like you can just tell like immediately, like,
Yeah,
okay, like you
immediately.
two are on the same wavelength.
And I
Like,
kind of love that, like when
yeah, like it wasn't like love at first sight, but it was like compatibility at first sight,
yeah, yeah,
if that
which I
makes
think can be
sense.
real. I believe in that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I like that.
Yeah. It's funny, there's what was it? I don't know. There was like some sort of study where like they like did like brain scans of like people who'd been in relationships for a long time, and like there were still like it was like something like 15% of the couples who like still had those like initial butterfly like brain waves, you know what I mean, the like initial like first like infatuation, like even after being together for like 50 years. And I was like, I want
Beautiful.
that.
I want that. I
I
love that.
want that. I was like, it's possible.
Also, it's even just interesting that there's like a way to measure butterflies, right? Like a feeling that's sometimes
Yeah.
indescribable, but you can see it and your brain lights up in a certain way. Like that's cool.
Yeah. It's funny in this flashback, speaking of butterflies, it's like we get one of my favorite, I don't know if I know you've listened to some of the episodes, but I don't know whether this was brought up in any of the episodes, but there's like a micro trope that I like I call like horniness or hospital, that is basically like it's usually the guy who is like, he's like, I have this feeling in my chest. And you as the reader know it's like love and like he's like developing feelings. But he's like, do I have acid reflux? Like, am I having a heart attack? And we get a variation on that with Harriet because she gets butterflies and she's like, actually, like, here's exactly what's happening in my body right now. Like, it's not butterflies. Like, it's just like a reaction of my nervous system or like whatever.
Yeah, yeah, it's so clinical, which tracks, right? For her, I think
Yeah.
like so clinical, making, as simple as possible, not thinking too deeply about what she's feeling or what she
Yeah.
wants, but just kind of placating.
Yeah. Sadly, in this introduction to Wyn, we do get that he has quote coyote eyes. So Wyn is a dog. He's not a cat.
I did notice I think I paused at coyote eyes a time or two because I was like, I don't know that I've heard that before. Wyn is a
No,
dog, but what, like, Wyn's not like he doesn't have lab energy.
no, he's like an old, like I don't
I almost feel
know.
like a grumpy old, like I feel like a friendly but like grumpy. I don't know. For some reason, a Rottweiler is
He's
jumping to
that
my
like
mind, but
8-year old like senior, yeah, like bigger dog that you get at the pound who was like really like sad, and then like when you bring him home, he's like
and
happy but
he's
likes to nap.
super protective,
Yeah.
like loves you, but it's just like to other people, like maybe like just disinterested.
Yeah, except that Wyn is like supposed to be really good with people. Like where the
Oh
whole
yeah,
reason Harriet doesn't want to like get with him, we see in the flashbacks, because he's like known to be like a womanizer.
right. And then he's like, people just want a piece of me, and the more they get to know me, they leave me behind. And I thought that was kind of sad.
Yeah.
And also like that's such introspection for him, for like I don't know, for I just thought that was so interesting. Like I don't know, I
Yeah.
don't have words for it, but like this level of introspection from this guy character of like, people don't really want to get to know me deeply, so I just keep it surface level.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's really sad. It's interesting because like both he and Harriet have like a level, like a certain level of developed introspection, but then also the whole plot of this book hinges on their inability to communicate.
Yes.
And normally, like, I don't like miscommunication as like the like driving force of a book. Like it often like really irks me when like I'm like one conversation. If you guys just had one conversation, this would be cleared up.
Yeah.
But and it bothered me the teensiest bit the second time I read it. It didn't bother me the first time at all. I think because like the mystery of like, oh, what happened was like kind of kept that at bay. But there were also, I was like, because in by the end, like they do have the conversations and then it's
Right. You were
not,
capable of it.
but then like it's not enough. You know what I mean? Like more needs to happen, even because after they have the conversations, they're still like, we still have to break up, like we still can't be together.
Yeah, which is just like a funny little thing that I think they kind of do in People We Meet on Vacation, like briefly, or that Emily Henry does, where she goes in, Poppy goes in and like makes this dramatic speech, this beautiful love speech, and then he's like, cool, thank you. You know, he responds like, all right, well, thanks for coming, you know? And like, that's kind of how I felt here too. It was like, we're gonna have this conversation. It's our last I love you. Oh, it's so dramatic. And then I was like, there's got to be a happy ending because A, I will be upset if there's not. And B, like that wouldn't fit the trope. And so I knew it was coming, but I was like, all right, we're having the conversation, our sad last I love yous, and then she leaves without saying, anyway, I don't want to jump too far ahead. She leaves without saying goodbye.
Yeah.
Dramatic.
It is a happy ending. Listen, I mean, obviously it has to be
It is
a
a happy
romance
ending.
novel. There was like the latest, like every few months, someone comes out of the woodwork where in an attempt to promote their new book, they like write some stupid op-ed about how like romance novels don't need to have happy endings. And everyone is like, that what a great way to isolate the audience you're trying to sell your book to.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like it's the genre. Like you're not gonna tell like mystery audiences like, well, actually the mystery doesn't need to be solved at the end.
Right,
like it can be not solved. Or like sci-fi, like actually sci-fi, like it doesn't have to have tech. Like actually they can just like, yeah.
Well, and look, if I'm picking up a romance novel, which when I do, I just want to relax and have a nice read and be rooting for the characters. I don't want my heart to be ripped out most of the time.
Or if it's like ripped out, you want to know that it's going to be put back together.
Correct.
By the end.
Yes. I want if there are tears there in the middle or like toward the end, but they're not on the last page unless it's just your love is so beautiful. But
yes. Yeah, no, it's every once in a while people someone tries to come out and be like, and everyone's like, no, like it's the opposite of the point of genre. The point of genre is that like genres have rules.
Yeah, certain things. But I feel like and anytime I have read a romance book that doesn't have a happy ending, it leaves me with a sour taste in my mouth. Or even something that is a happy ending, but it takes a long time to get there. So I'm thinking of, this is coming way out of the woodwork from when I was in like the 7th grade. But Dear John by Nicholas Sparks, right? I've dabbled in Nicholas Sparks. And it's this beautiful romance. I saw the movie too, right? Between Channing Tatum and Amanda Seyfried. It's beautiful. It's incredible, blah, blah, blah. And then they don't end up together. She ends up with someone else. They get married. They have, I think she's taking care of his son and he passes away. And at the end, it hints that after like 10 or 15 years of them being apart, that now they have an opportunity to be together. And I know that's technically a happy ending, but that kind of shit rips my heart out. I'm like, no, that's not happy. They're like meant to be together.
No,
entire lives knowing that they don't have what they feel.
No, it's tragic. And I mean, Nicholas Sparks he's not considered like by the romance community and also by himself. Like he has an FAQ on his website where it's like, are you a romance author? And he's like, no, I'm not. Like he's not
consider himself.
Like he reads like romantic fiction.
Okay.
Because there's a difference between like capital R romance, like genre romance, which like the only two requirements is that there's like a main relationship that's like the focus of the book and it has like a happy ending and a quote emotionally satisfying and optimistic ending.
Yeah.
the only two things you need. You can do whatever the else fuck you want, and it's still a romance novel. It has the two things. But he's very much like, because his book is like, you know what I mean? Like there's like a bittersweet ending. You know what I mean? Like the Notebook, like, okay, they die in each other's arms, but like they still die.
Right. It's not,
and like a Walk to Remember, like she just dies and he's by himself. You know what I mean? Like, so he's not like, people like view him as like a romance out there, but he's, even in his own words, like very specifically is like, no, like I write, like there's a difference between like love stories and romantic fiction and like a romance.
He knows the title of his lane. And he's in his lane.
Yeah.
Right?
So they go up. Normally they're in the kids' room, which has two beds, like two twin beds that they've pushed together. But oh no, they've switched things up this year. And Wyn and Harriet are gonna be in like the primary bedroom, like the big like honeymoon suite.
Wait, basically. She actually says something so specific. I know, because I was reading this and my partner was next to me, and of course he looks over my shoulder on this page when they're introducing the room, and she's like, of course we end up in the room where just every surface is meant for fucking. And he's like, what you reading? And I was like, awesome, I'm glad that that's the one page you saw me reading, because honestly, like, as far, you know, steamy wise, this book wasn't too steamy.
It wasn't super.
I was just, so they end up in this room that every single surface is just meant for fucking, as she says.
Yeah.
Which is,
there's like no door on the shower, like, or like it's all, everything is like there's like, it's just glass. Yeah. But then they don't fuck.
They do not.
Once in that room. I was like, what a tease.
Yeah. There was a lot of interesting chemistry, will they, won't they, that culminated at the end, right? But I thought,
oh, absolutely.
The steam,
it's very much a slow burn. Yeah.
And it seemed like, I think their romance in the beginning was a slow burn too. So if it's fitting, like how they got together, it took them a year, you know, a long time. And then they were hooking and they told their friends and everything, which we see in flashbacks. They sneak around, you know.
Yeah, because like they don't want to like ruin the friendship. Yeah.
Which is again the theme, right? We don't want to mess up the friendship, this beautiful weekend of Sabrina and Parth getting married.
Yeah, we have to make this nice. So like that's why they can't tell them. So like we have to pretend to still be together.
Yes.
And like they have to make all these rules, and like Wyn is like, well, they know how you are with me, like, or how I am with you, like, so like what parts of you can I touch, because like I'm pretty physical.
Right. I was just like physical touch, love language kind of guy.
Yeah. Which is like good, because they're not good communicators.
Right. If it was words of affirmation, they would be nowhere.
But... No, absolutely. Well, she's kind of giving him words of affirmation, and a lot of like, she's often like, when he puts himself down, she's like, can you please not do that? Yeah. She's like, can you please stop, please?
Yeah.
I also like that the framing of this book with the flashbacks tends to be, except in like the very end where you sort of get when they're like breaking, like around the breakup, that it seems to be like Harriet's happy place. Like, yeah, the happy place is like the main beach house, but it's also just like wherever Wyn is, you know, like that's like the flashbacks, because the flashbacks are what's called happy place, not the like present day.
And the chapter titles. Yeah, I feel like I'm 50-50 on flashbacks in books, because usually I just want to stay in the present because I want to know what's happening. But I actually thought these were well done, the flashbacks, because they were so explanatory, but also it's still interesting, not just like boring. And we're getting more, everyone just gave us a little bit more, and I feel like they gave us enough in the present to tease out what we wanted from the flashbacks of like, oh, did she cheat, what happened in San Francisco, you know, meeting family, and that's a whole
like making the connections.
And the family is a whole other topic, like Harriet and her relationship with her family.
Oh yeah,
I had a lot of thoughts like on that, which good and bad, kind of interesting, because I feel like it wasn't the traditional like family trauma that we read, right? It's usually like, oh, mom died, dad died, mom has like, honestly,
mom was horrible, like
right. And
like
this was like, look, my parents were objectively good, right?
But
like
not,
but not, you know, emotionally distant, or you know, even stuff with her sister, because I thought it was potentially really validating, because I think a lot of times when it's like, my parents were really awesome and they did what they needed to do for me, but we're not close, there's like a guilt that I think she was feeling. And you know, relationships are hard, especially and including family relationships. So I thought that was kind of an interesting twist on like the family trauma, but not in a traditional like big blow up way.
No, yeah, I definitely agree. Like it was super validating because I agree. Like it's usually like so like Wyn, you either have Wyn's family who are all super close and like vibrant, they all love each other and they're all like
Yeah.
they all tell each other that they love each other all the time and like they're super healthy and like great or whatever. And like I'm like, do those actually exist in real like is that a real family?
I know, and it's the same
Um
thing with the friend group from college of like, damn, I want this perfect six person every year we go out and no time has passed and we all have the money to do it, you know?
yeah, yeah, yeah. But then yeah, so you either have Wyn's family or you have like a they're my parents were the worst people imaginable and or are dead, you know, like
Yeah,
yeah,
honestly
because
though.
yeah, because Wyn's relationship, so I mean not Wyn, Harriet's relationship. See, it's the gender neutral thing. I'm gonna be mixing it up
Yeah,
the whole time. Harriet basically she's like we said, she's like a people pleaser, and basically her older sister, there's like a bit of an age gap between them. So they're not particularly close. And her older sister was sort of like the rebel child. And then
yeah.
so she, like, in order to keep the peace, was like the golden child or whatever. And like she's really you kind of like get the sense throughout the book that like the reason she's in medical school and like the reason she like or she was in medical like the reason she like excelled and like all that stuff was just to like try to earn her parents like love or
Yeah.
whatever, which I was like,
Imagine
oh,
doing a whole freaking medical
medical.
degree and have, 2 years of residency just to be like, I didn't want that. Can you imagine? I just
Yeah.
like I fully believe in doing things for spite. So like for example, like I fully believe in doing a PhD for spite, right? For revenge, for spite, for
Is that why you're doing
sometimes
a PhD?
I'm gonna not answer that. No, sometimes a little bit. Yeah, it's a
No
little bit of
comment.
spite, no comment. As its motivation, right? So like use those negative emotions as motivator, but I cannot imagine doing a PhD or an MD or a degree out of guilt and just like doing it that's whew, has Harriet got some self-work to do,
Yeah.
right? The fact that you would truly do this whole thing because you thought, you kind of had to or to get your parents' approval.
Yeah.
It was the thing to do. Like that's for spite, yes. For guilt,
I don't even know that she's doing it because like I think it's only recently when she really starts to even allow herself to think that this may not have been what she wants. And I
yeah,
feel like I can relate to that a lot of like deciding you want to do something or like having a goal that you develop when you're younger and then like dedicating
totally.
all this time and energy to it. And then when like you achieve it, you're like,
Oh,
oh, this isn't what I thought it was going to be.
yeah,
And
totally.
feel like and not feel like you want to back like you don't want to back out because you're like I did all this work to get here. Like I can't
Absolutely.
just
Every day.
quit.
Every day I want to quit my
Yeah.
PhD, but I am, I really yeah, that's true. But I'm in I've done 4 years of this. I am
Yeah.
maybe 80% done. It's too late. I should have mastered out, right?
Yeah.
But sorry, this episode is gonna have a lot of
No,
some
no.
Wyn flavored self-deprecation about doing how awful it is to do a PhD, which I know Rachel has done and survived. But
She was also like that was yeah.
eh, I've made choices. And I'm happy with them. I'm not as incredibly sad and just like lifeless as Harriet is, feeling like she has gotten to the place that she wanted to. Always talked about being a neurosurgeon, but wasn't exactly sure why, and then gets there and is like, this is a slog.
Yeah. She's like, actually, I feel stressed. At one point, she's like, every time I walk into the hospital, it's just like stress, like
Oh
androgens, I think.
gosh,
She's like fled my system the whole time. And I'm like, oof.
that's awful.
Yeah. Yeah. And I can also I can understand why she didn't feel this until after she started working. Cause there's also that element of like school being familiar and comfortable and like
Absolutely.
knowing she knew exactly what she was going to do and she knew how to do
Yeah.
it.
And if she excelled in school the way that she did, right, in order to get into Columbia Med School, like school
Right.
was easy, right? You take the test,
Yeah.
you memorize the thing, but then to actually be in there and be like, oh no,
Someone could die.
right, this is a lot of pressure, stress, and I feel like I think she calls herself a feral cat, of her
Yeah.
cohort. She's like, I am the feral
Yeah.
cat of the cohort, and somebody like adopted her into their group. And I think that's a pretty apt description. That's funny.
Yeah. And I mean, even like, obviously, this isn't neurosurgery, but like, I was a lifeguard in high school. And even that, there were times and I was like, someone, like, I am supposed to prevent people. And like, I never had to save anyone. I never had to give people CPR. Like, my job was like sitting in a chair and getting tan and telling kids not to dive into the shallow end or, yeah, or like walk.
Yeah.
Like, that was my job. But like, there was always that like element of anxiety anytime like I was on the stand of being like, I could be responsible for like somebody dying right now.
Yeah. No, it's a big response. Yeah, I think there's so many reasons. And I've heard that. I think doctors are under a lot of stress. I think it's
Yeah.
obviously not an easy job,
Yeah.
but I think if she gets there and was like, I hate this. And I'm glad she came to the realization while on this trip that like,
Yeah.
I don't need to do something that is making me miserable.
Yeah. She's like, my happiness is more important than like success, quote unquote.
Yeah. And her happy place is with Wyn.
Yeah.
Even if at
That's
first
a
he's
win
like,
on my book.
ooh, wait, that was good. I liked that.
My phone kept autocorrecting his name to every single time. It would not remember that his name, like how his name was spelled.
Yeah, I believe it. It's a different name that I don't know anyone named, again, don't know anyone named Harriet except for Harriet Tubman, but I don't know anyone named Wyn. I think our cafeteria lady in elementary school was named Winnie, but that's it.
I think Harriet and Wyn are both like modern trendy baby names. So like we wouldn't know anyone with those names because
they're coming back.
They're like all that's what I think Emily Henry does that a lot. Like I feel like Poppy and like Gus
Poppy I know has come back.
was the hero of Beach Read, like Augustus, Gus, like all of those are like older name, quote unquote, like grandma names because like it's gonna be dark, but like all the grandmas are dying. So like there's a new generation of parents who don't necessarily associate those with like grandma names as much as like they used to be. Like I just when like Karen, you just think like 50 years from now, like Karen's gonna come back. You know what I mean? Like
what a time
all these names, and we're like, no way, like Barbara is gonna come back.
Yeah, Patricia.
Yes. Where were we? We're jumping because that's also the thing with the flashbacks is like I don't think it makes sense for us to talk about the flashbacks necessarily as they come. It just kind of like makes sense to talk about them. So like I keep like losing my
where we are.
Yeah. Okay. So anyway, they made all these rules. She has to put her ring back on. It's very dramatic. And it's funny because like she's like, yeah, like I mailed the ring back and then he mailed it back to me and then I mailed it back to
Yeah. Get this thing away.
Yeah. And it's like they're all like hanging out and like Parth is like monologuing about how Wyn and her are couple goals and how like they like showed them, like him and Sabrina, that like true love exists and like all of that. And she's like, oh my god, I'm gonna die.
This is the worst thing imaginable.
And then again, like you learn later that like Parth knew the whole time. So it's like,
yeah. Oh, I
like,
didn't even
bro.
Yeah, that was kind of a dick move a little bit.
I gotta respect it.
Right? At the end of the day, it worked. Here's a question. Do you think that Harriet and Wyn would have gotten back together if not for this weekend?
No. No, because I don't think they would have communicated. And at the beginning of that week, she's blocked his number. He's like, he fully believes that like she's better off without him. And like,
so then major shout out to One Dimensional Parth and Incredible Sabrina for bringing them back together, right? Because
they did it. Yeah, I think like maybe they would have gotten back together like 20 years from now when Harriet is like burned out and like bitter from her being a doctor and like doing all the stuff that she hates.
Yeah, like a college reunion or something.
Yeah, right. We also get a flashback where they're all talking about like they're like, what would I do in like my alternate life or whatever. And when it's like, I would move back to Montana, which is like, I get it's like that internal pressure of like, do I go out and explore the world or like I stay
Yeah.
where I'm from, where I'm comfortable.
This book was sponsored by like the Tourism Bureau of Montana. It was, right? Like talking about how beautiful it is and how incredible and all these things. And I would love to go, like I said.
It's funny because I really think this book reminded me a lot of Abby Jimenez's Part of Your World, which we also did on the podcast. And I mean, that book takes place in Minnesota, but like all of her books kind of like that area of the United States is like where they take place. And the premise of the book is also like the heroine is a doctor who's like really burned out and is trying to like please her parents. And like the hero is a carpenter from a small town who like there were a lot of similarities between this book. And I was like, I just feel like there's no way Emily Henry didn't read that book like while she was writing this one.
Yeah. Oh, that's funny. Shout out to Minnesota, to Montana, and to Maine.
Yeah. Listen. Although not shout out to Minnesota and Montana, because then everyone will move there and it'll get expensive, and it already is.
Right. And then it would ruin the small town romances like this from happening.
Right, exactly. Where is it gonna, we're not gonna have to go back to like Appalachia and like that's too spooky for a small romance.
Too spooky.
Yeah, and then at one point they're like by the fire, Cleo snuggles into Harriet like a cat.
Yes. The first of a few snuggling like a cat references. Yeah.
And then Harriet and Wyn wake up cuddling, as you do when there's only one bed. Like you have to. Yeah.
Yeah, which is hilarious. You do, but like, or you don't. You can be on far end.
They're in a king size bed, but it's like you said, they're magnets. They're
magnets, even in their sleep. They don't consciously choose it.
They're just like rolling over on the bed.
Yeah.
She's also hungover. Oh yeah, she's hungover the next. She's like drinking, so that's another reason that they're cuddling. And he like gave her like her special sleep shirt that was like his. And yeah, then they go to the grocery store. They play this like grocery gladiators game that's like a competition, but like not really. And the only reason I bring up this scene is because Harriet is like looking through the fruit and she's looking for mold-free strawberries. And it was really triggering for me because every time I've tried to buy raspberries in like the past several months, there's always been like, I will think of this scene and I will scan so hard for mold. And then I get home the next day, I open it and there's like a giant ass moldy raspberry, like right under where the label was. So like you couldn't see it every time.
That is something that I feel like Emily Henry does a lot, is add these very personable like tinges of like searching through the fruit but it makes, I feel like it's good. It makes them more relatable. Not that I extensively search for mold. I'm sorry that you have that that tragic past with moldy raspberries.
It's really been a problem. And yeah, so they just like do all this like the classic, they spend the whole week like doing all their like quote unquote traditional things. So like they go to this bookshop and we get a cameo from, I don't think you read Beach Read, but we get a Beach Read cameo where Parth is like, I got this book that was written by this couple where he normally writes literary fiction and she writes romance novels. And that's like the book that they are writing in the epilogue of like Beach Read.
Oh,
that they write together. Yeah. And I like that. Like Emily.
Connection.
Yeah. I actually I really love when like authors have like the Emily Henry cinematic universe, like where it's like, this isn't a sequel, but like they all take place in the same world. Like, I think that's always really fun. But you get like little Easter eggs.
I love an Easter
egg. Speaking of an Easter egg to us, in one of the flashbacks, we learned that Parth went to Fordham.
Go Rams!
Woo! Fordham Law, which we lived above.
We did.
Freshman year.
We did.
Which is still bizarre that the freshman dorms were above the law school, but like whatever.
A lot of weird choices there. But yeah, I know. I thought of that immediately. Fordham Law reference, Go Rams. I feel like a lot of shows and books will casually throw in Fordham Law as like an attainable but good law school.
Yeah, which I guess.
I don't really know enough about it, but Law and Order SVU main guy Carisi goes to Fordham Law. And I'm like, what? Okay, cool, I guess. Go Rams. Have I said that enough? School spirit, I guess.
Go Rams. Oh wait, it's
ranked. Made it to a single sports game the entire time I was there.
I went to 1. I went to homecoming 1 year, maybe
I made
like
it to the
senior
10th.
year.
Yeah.
I made it to the tent, and then I like maybe sat in the stands for like 3 minutes, and then I was like, I'm gonna beat the Ram Van Rush home. And then I went.
Wow. Those are words I haven't said in a long time. The Ram
Fordham
Van.
is 29th in best law schools according to US News in the US. And it's number 3 in part-time law, which makes sense because Fordham was very much like big on like working students
and
because it's in the middle of the
commutable.
city.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so I guess good but attainable law school.
Yeah. Yeah.
Checks out.
That checks out. Good for Parth.
Good job, Parth.
Does Sabrina go there too? Or do they
No, she
not
goes to
mention?
Columbia.
She does. Okay.
Also, one of these flashbacks, Wyn is dating, has like an ex-girlfriend named Allison, who's like just mentioned briefly. And I would just like to ask romance novels authors in general, why is Allison always the other woman? Always. I have never found a book in which Allison
was not the other woman.
Is not the other woman. Like,
that's cruel.
Do I get nothing?
Do I get nothing? No, you get something, and unfortunately, it is the short end of the stick, as the other woman.
Listen, I'm sure that I like recognize it more because like I'm like, oh, that's my name, so like it sticks out to me. But like I swear to God, it's like the most popular other woman name. Like everyone's just like, oh, what should I name the like ex-girlfriend from the past? I know. Right. Like why every time?
Cruel. Every time. Unreasonable. Well, I now be on the hunt for a romance novel where Allison's the main character.
Yeah, but it has to be spelled correctly.
Right, it does.
Because 2 L's is not a real name. Sorry. No, listen.
About this.
Listen. Allison with 1 L is the only iteration of that, except for the nonsense. Like once we get into like the Y and like S, like those aren't real spellings. Those are just like modern day shit. Okay. I'm talking about 1 L versus 2. Allison with 1 L was always a first name. Allison with 2 L's was a last name that got changed into a first name. So one of them is correct, objectively, historically, etymologically.
I buy into it. Absolutely. I hear you. Strong feelings, strong thoughts.
They're all going out the door, and getting them out the door is, quote, like herding cats on acid, which is very difficult. It's very difficult to herd cats.
Yeah, and it was mentioned, it was like, it's so hard, we're herding cats on acid, except the herder is also on acid or something.
Yeah, really the shepherd is also on
there. The shepherd, yeah. I thought that was a very extended metaphor, and that was funny.
And it's funny because herding cats is like a metaphor that I hear. I mean, not like a lot, but like, I don't know, the first time I heard it, I thought it was just like something someone said, but then like it seems to have been worked its way into like the public consciousness.
Yeah, it just it's because I feel like I've said it before.
Okay, so then they get trapped in the wine cellar, where they have like sexy love memories of hide and seek.
And he has claustrophobia.
And this is where we learn that Harriet thinks Wyn thinks she cheated on him. You're like, you dummies, talk to each other. And then instead of talking to each other, they all go out to a bar, and Harriet wears a sexy red revenge dress and spends the whole time vindictively grinding into Wyn's crotch.
Which is such an interesting concept, to vindictively grind on someone.
What a move. And they're like, and Wyn's like trying to get it like to talk to her, and she's like, no, I'm fine or whatever. And then like Vitamin C's Graduation starts playing, like, and he's like, this is our song, we have to go dance, and like pulls her onto the dance floor. And it really like triggered a memory for me in which at a school dance, I was like, I think it may have been prom. I requested Vitamin C's Graduation.
Stop. That's so funny.
And the DJ was like, no.
That's a great request.
Thanks.
However, I'm not going to grant
I'm gonna veto that. Thanks.
Yeah. For the good of the vibes here.
But you know what? That song is a vibe. So fuck that
it's
DJ. That's a great song.
So where are we? We've done the revenge dress. We got
gone home from the bar. Yeah, but not as much.
Not as much. I know.
They're after. She's like, I only had a glass of wine. Can you get hungover off a glass of wine? And they're like, after 30, anything's possible. And I'm like, ma'am, that's been me since I was like 24. That already hit me.
I mean, they're 30 and they're drinking like this and not being knocked out for a full day with a hangover, because I'm not yet 30 and I have one
Oh,
hangover
you're already
the
there.
entire day. So I don't know what kind of Pedialyte or, emergency they're
They
drinking,
keep
but
being like, yeah, I drank a lot of water before bed. And I'm like, that doesn't help as much as you think it does.
gosh, yeah. What happens next? Is that when they go to the Lobster Fest? They go to the movies and there's a little bit of friend drama between the three of them.
All right. What they're like basically like, we don't have time to do all the things that we wanted to do because I think it's like raining or whatever. And
Yeah.
Harriet tells them, she's like, when I was a kid, this like traumatic childhood
Oh,
memory
yeah.
about cake. And she's like, let's just pick one thing that you want to do. And then like the vacation will be good. And it's just like like when you tell someone like a story and they're like, that's actually really fucked up that happens.
Yeah, and sad and just like wah wah. Right. Like this
And
is
you're
so
like, oh,
right.
oh,
Like
actually.
like I thought that was funny, or like that was fun to me when you share something and no one else is on that level and you're like, oh, okay. Maybe in the
Oh,
grand
but
it is sad.
yeah. And honestly, then I like go home and I think about it. I'm like, wait, yeah, that was actually fucked up. Like, I can't believe I've never thought about that until
Yeah.
now. So they're all going to do, so they're doing like a thing. Oh, Harriet also describes her quote unquote vindictive grinding as being like a cat in heat. So
Another cat reference, yes.
note that Harriet like runs out. She's like sitting next to Wyn or whatever. And they basically like very briefly communicate in that like he's like, I didn't dump you because I thought you cheated on me. It was more complicated. I'm not going to explain how, but it just
Know
was.
that wasn't it.
It just they're just yeah, they're so silly. But they all take weed gummies and then they're just like they're
Okay,
being
yeah.
silly.
And that was a funny scene because I always love, I don't know, there's something funny to me about like reading books where people write about being high and like taking an edible. Because I just wonder, I'm like, has the author gotten high before, or are they just trying to describe what they think it would be like from their understanding of movies and TV?
Yeah. I feel like it's usually pretty like this. I got the vibe. I was like, Emily Henry eats like pop brownies with her friends, like
Yeah, there's
on
another
a
question.
semi-regular basis.
Does Emily Henry take edibles? The answer I would say is yes.
Yes. I feel like you can usually like, I don't know. I feel like it's usually like you're reading something and you're like, oh, the author has never done this.
Yeah, because there are
in their
times,
life.
yeah, or like their descriptions of, and that doesn't have to just be weed, but like a description of a place that they've been or something they've done. You're like, okay, that's not.
Yeah, that's technically right, but like the vibes are off. That's how I felt in this book about pottery, because like we find out that Harriet's like her hobby is like pottery. And I was just like, I feel like maybe Emily Henry took one pottery class when she was like 15, but like I was like, there's just something about this where I feel like you have not touched clay in a long time.
Yeah, right. Like that I hadn't thought about that, but I think that you're right.
So they have a flashback about another time they did weed, and Wyn is like, yeah, you like were like saying you were gonna go into boat making, and like my dad actually like researched like how to like get, which I was like, that's so
thought that was so sweet.
So cute.
I thought that was so sweet. A, that Wyn texted his dad about it, and then B, that his dad like genuinely looked into it. Hank.
Yes, Hank. Oh, R.I.P. Hank.
R.I.P. Hank. I thought that was really sweet. I thought throughout like Wyn's love for Harriet, like also her love for him, but the way that he loved her was really sweet.
Yeah.
By a woman. We loved it.
Yeah. And it was very much like, this was like, I mean, and this doesn't happen with all romance stuff. Like, I'll be like, oh, this is cute, but like, I don't want you for myself. But like, Wyn was like one of the rare romance heroes where I was like, oh, I want you to exist in real life. And I'm Harriet. That's me.
Yeah. Yeah. I thought the way that he loved her was really beautiful.
Yeah. But Harriet's thinking about how she's like, I devoted my entire adult life and all it took was one puff of the right joint to contemplate throwing it all away. And I was like, oh, that's the universe telling you something, Harriet. And I feel like that, like reading it the second time where I was like, okay, there's just like no other way this book ends. Yeah. You just get this so early.
I mean, what do they say? Like drunk words, drunk thoughts.
Or sober thoughts.
Drunk words or sober thoughts. And I guess they're saying the same thing with weed here.
Well, I guess weed is supposed to make you like understand the universe or whatever, like what you're supposed to like have deep thoughts, quote unquote.
No, I thought the scene at the lobster fest was cute. That was funny.
And one of the cute flashbacks Wyn has is like, I think this is like one of the most quoted lines that I see on like Bookstagram, where he's like, in every universe, it's you for me, even if it's not me for you.
I know that. And because I read it on the Kindle too, like had all the underlines.
Oh yeah.
Like, 4,000 people had underlined that quote. And I'm like, I see why.
Yeah. I was like, Wyn, you're such a bad communicator, but you have such a good way with words. How is this possible?
Yeah. That's an enigma. Like it contradicts itself a little bit, but it was that line was really good. I really liked that.
And it was also really indicative of his like insecurities in their relationship, because he thinks that there's a universe in which she doesn't pick him.
Right. And at the end of the day, he's saying like, you are it for me, but I might not be it for you, because you have other options and things to do. But for me, you're it. And I agree.
Yeah. They all go sailing, and I only bring this up because I had a childhood friend that gave me access to a boat, and I no longer have access to a boat. So I would like a friend that gives me access to a boat again.
Well, I wish I could be that friend, but let's put out a call for any of our friends who are listening to this who have boat access to please invite us on a boat.
I just love being on boats, but like little boat, like cruise ships, no, but like day boats.
I teeter with seasickness a little bit on some smaller boats, but I can usually hang.
Yeah.
Actually, fun fact, all we need is the boat, because I have my boating license. I do.
When did you get your boating license? Why did you get your boating license?
I got my boating license when I was maybe 14 years old in the landlocked state of Pennsylvania, because despite not touching an ocean, there are lakes. So I had a boat license because my parents, for a very, very brief stint, not very brief, but for a brief stint, had a boat. And it just made sense because, let me tell you, the bar for getting a boat license on the floor. It's an online course.
Oh, yeah.
So I am, by no means am I like sea ready or maritime experienced. However, if put in a position, I have a, 10-plus-year-old boat license that I could show that I can legally drive a boat.
Does that just never expire?
Maybe it does. I should look into that. Not that I'm driving any boats, but I do remember getting it because it was a card. It was a legitimate little. So someone supply the boat. I will drive it. Not well. But I used to know what the buoys meant. So
you can do like sick turn, like we'll get a tube. You'll do like donuts and like try to knock people off.
Oh, that sounds fun. So college friends, anyone who has a boat and is listening, we would like to be guests.
Yes. Hello. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks. XOXO.
Yeah.
Anyway, back to
yes. Something that is somehow is fiction, but more realistic.
Yes.
Than us getting a boat.
Basically, like their breakup was like, Wyn was really sad in San Francisco because like he was isolated and like he didn't have jobs that he liked, and also like San Francisco is a city and it's rainy and he was not happy about it. I was like, you know what, like that's me with New York. I get it. Like I get it. But then his dad died, R.I.P. Hank. So sad. And he was really sad. And then Harriet, because she's like a people pleaser and she's like she wants to like stop fight, like she doesn't want people to like, she doesn't want to add to people's burdens, like that's her whole thing, like she tries to make herself like as invisible as possible. She's like, I'm sad too, but I don't want to add to his weight, so like they just don't talk, so they just like stop talking basically. Yeah,
which like from an outside perspective is like very obvious, like you got to get that stuff out, but I can totally see where Harriet's coming from here. Like
no, yeah,
reasonable. Right? It's not my dad. I didn't grow up with the same relationship with him. I really, like, and it feels guilty to even, or it feels bad to even put any of my sadness onto you when you're dealing with so much of your own. So I just want to make it as easy for you as possible and not burden you with my stuff. I think that is such a reasonable response.
Especially because she was already feeling guilty because she was already seeing how like Wyn was like not doing well in San Francisco. And she's like, no, it's fine. Like, we'll put off the wedding. And like, then Wyn has to move back to Minnesota to take care of his mom because she has Parkinson's and she like falls or whatever. And then like, Harriet's trying to be accommodating. She's constantly like, no, 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 it's fine that like we missed a call. No, it's fine that like you can't come down to visit. Like, and then eventually her shitty coworker, Martin.
Yeah, who the heck?
Martin kisses, like they're at like happy hour or whatever, and then he walks around and he kisses her, and she's like, I'm engaged, which he knows.
He knows he's met with. He's like, oh, the furniture guy.
What a day. You know what? I don't think it's a coincidence that the first book I ever wrote when I was 12, the villain in that was also named Martin. And I think that's just life coming full circle. There's just something about that name. The only like positive connotation Martin I've ever experienced is the butler in the Parent Trap, and that's it. Everyone else never met a good Martin.
Never met a good Martin. I'm trying to think if I know any Martins. My therapist in college was named Martin. He was good. He was a nice guy. I don't know anything about him because it's a totally one-way relationship, but I can assume he was a nice guy. And then Steve Martin, the actor.
Yeah, Steve Martin and Martin Short. I'm just thinking like they're the...
Yeah. But Martin, like, what the heck? I thought that was such a weird move. And that was a bold move from Martin to do that. And then, you know, I thought she did the right thing, and she's like, I want to tell you, I don't want this to be a weird thing or a secret. And he, for whatever reason, he was not in a good place, obviously, but that was just the one thing that was like, you know what, I'm holding her back. She wants to go do these things in San Francisco, and I'm here, and she actually doesn't want to get married.
She should be with that guy. Yeah,
she should be with someone like him.
Yeah.
4 minutes, cold, we're done, mailing back the stuff.
God, weird.
The timing there was perfect and imperfect, because for him it was like the straw that broke the camel's back of like, okay, proof right there, this is not it.
But the revelations keep 10 years down the drain. Literally a third of their lives, 33% of their lives together.
And that's where you're like, and Harriet is such a people pleaser, but you're like, Harriet, it was like 4 minutes, you're gonna let that happen?
Yeah, why wouldn't she
yourself be like, why? What the heck?
But that's also her character growth. She finally, by the end, she's like fighting for. She's like, I'm gonna fight for a win. I deserve
a reason. I deserve to know what the heck.
Yeah, but the revelations keep on coming, because we find out that Wyn started a high profile carpentry business. Yeah,
making some beautiful, expensive armoires and bureaus and whatever.
Or I guess the many millionaires in his home in Bozeman, Montana, or wherever.
And the tourists too, right? That come through. They're like, wow, I want something from the place. I want a Montman. I'm gonna Google this after. A Montanian piece of furniture from the woods in my home. Like low-key I can see, you know, people go to
absolutely.
National parks are beautiful places, and they want an authentic, made from the wood there, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
And guess what? Oh yeah, Wyn has found this market, and now he's making some 15 grand pieces of furniture. So
minimum, that's like the cheapest one too. So like, yeah, amazing, fabulous. And so yeah, they finally communicate. They finally like share why, like basically what went wrong. They like finally get it together, but they still can't be together because Harriet won't communicate with herself about what she really wants.
Get out your own way, girl. Yeah.
Oh, so they have outdoor shower orgasms, which is great. Which I really love.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. Which, good for them.
I mean, listen, I get it.
I feel like it'd be cold, but good for them.
I guess it depends how warm it is outside. Oh, but wait. The water is on. The hot water is on while they're doing it.
Okay.
She does specify at one point he's like going down on her. The what?
The mosquitoes.
What's not standing water?
Yeah, but don't they like the water? I don't know. I'm in Maine right now.
They like standing water. That's why like pools are super.
Yeah, I am covered in mosquito bites just from existing here. So I'm like,
oh yeah.
I have an outdoor shower where I'm at right now too, and I'm like, I can't imagine. But again, we're suspending disbelief. We're not being a skeptic. We're saying, yeah. So they have a good little time. They reconnect. Didn't they say like their last "I love you"? I feel like it was kind of breakup sex in a way.
Yeah, because Wyn is like, what is this? Basically asking, like, is this us getting back together? Or is this the last I love you? And she's like, it's the last I love you because she's
Yeah.
stupid. And yeah, then they all go out to dinner. But then, yeah, Sabrina's like, let's get matching tattoos. And that's the straw that broke Cleo's back.
Yeah. Yeah. Which we later find out is because she's pregnant. And also because Cleo has boundaries. I have a tattoo. I like tattoos. I will never in my life get a tattoo with another person ever.
Yeah.
Personally, just because I think, and if I were to, it would not be spur of the moment and like six people.
Oh no.
I think the surprise was really it. And they were even
Yeah.
Harriet was like, let's just take a day to think about it and come up with something
Yeah.
agree upon, right? Like,
Yeah.
are we getting an ass tat? Are we getting like something that's going to be seen? Like what's
Yeah.
happening here?
Sabrina's like, we've been talking about this for 10 years, but they're like, we've been joking about it for 10 years. Like, we haven't, like, it's just an ongoing gag, my girl.
Right. Are we all gonna get like 1, 2, 3 easy lane tattooed on our butts? Like, what is this gonna be? Right? Like, we're not sure. So that was the straw that broke Cleo's back, and
Yeah.
hence the friend explosion.
Yeah. And then Sabrina's like, I'm the only one holding us together. You guys are all keeping secrets. And Harriet doesn't realize it. She's like, oh, like I've always felt like this friend group has been like something I can just kind of like throw myself into the current, but like I didn't really get that, like that may seem like I don't care. And I was like, me too.
Yeah.
Me too, Harriet.
Yeah. I kind of related to Sabrina here. Not in our friend group or anything, not like specific, but I definitely feel like there are friend groups where I'm like, or friendships where I'm like, if I don't reach out, then nothing ever happens. We don't visit each other. We don't talk unless I'm the one keeping it going. And for a long time, that really frustrated me of like, am I the only one who cares? Right.
Yeah.
To me, like, that is something I still struggle with, is like putting an effort is a sign of love and care for a relationship. But sometimes it's not that someone doesn't care. It's that they are really busy in their own stuff, or it's not, they would be there in a heartbeat, but that's just not their style of showing love in a friendship or a relationship. But I empathize with Sabrina here of just being guys, I'm trying.
Yeah. No, I'm definitely Harriet here, but I empathize with the Sabrinas. And like there are people that I could think of where I'm like, oh, you're the Sabrina in this situation. Yeah. I think it's a lot. I mean, even with like, I think it's ADHD. There's like something that I have that is like basically like object permanence like thing where it's like, it's not that I don't care about you. It's just that like, if something's like not
in my immediate vicinity,
in my attention like range, that I just don't think about it. It's not because I don't care, it's just because I don't think about it. My brain just doesn't do it.
Yeah. And that's totally fair and reasonable. And I think that's why you see this come to head with Harriet and Sabrina, and neither of them are really wrong.
No, they're all right. That's the thing. It's like they're all valid. Yeah.
And that clearly needed to happen. And that was kind of the pretty little friendship arc in here of like, our friendships and relationships change, right?
But we're adults now.
Yeah. And our relationship might change, but we're still us and we still love each other. And what that looks like might differ.
Yeah. I'm very much pro, like, I wish people were more accepting of friendships that are like the kind of friendships where like you're not like always texting back and forth and like you see each other every once in a while, but like when you see each other, you're like in it, and I feel like that is not something that is accepted. Like it's viewed as like, oh, you're just not putting effort into, I don't know. Like I feel like,
especially long distance friendships.
Yeah.
That stuff's hard. We went to school in New York. I'm from the East Coast. And then I moved to California for graduate school. And that was a bold choice. I look back and I question that one, but everything works out. It's supposed to, but it became really hard to maintain all the relationships that I had in college because you just don't see people. So object permanence, if I don't think of you to text you, or if, we're not texting as much with whoever it is, like it gets hard because you're just far away. You don't have the things to talk about as much. And you have guys you're trying to keep afloat.
Yeah. And I'm not a good, like, I've never been like a texter, like TM, like I'm not good. Like keeping up a conversation over text is not easy for me. Like I could do it in person, same topic, but totally.
And I've had the opposite problem where I I think I can be a texter. So then when I reach out and I don't hear back or I feel like there's not reciprocation, I used to get really upset by that. And just like, this person doesn't value this friendship. And I've grown out of that, or so I think.
No, yeah.
Where it's, I don't think that's necessarily true. I don't think it's true at all, right? Everyone has different levels of communication and communication styles, but
Yeah.
that's why I was like, I feel Sabrina on this one. And then Cleo's got her own thing going on that she
Yeah.
That's the
Cleo's
thing too, is their friendship is so close, but they haven't shared the important close things that they used to all the time.
yeah. But also like for like I mean, like the thing with Cleo, like the reason she hasn't shared it yet is because it's like super early. And like I get that, like a lot of people don't share it.
And also, again, nobody's business, right? Even your closest friends, when you don't owe telling anyone anything ever.
Yeah.
I'm glad that it happened. I feel like the seeds were set between Sabrina and Cleo. That there
Yeah.
was going to be some sort of blow up, but I'm kind of glad that it involved Harriet too, in the way that it did. Because we needed that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you knew something was going to happen. Like from the summary, you knew something was going to happen because Harriet's keeping this big secret. But yeah, the fact that like Harriet's trying to be a peacemaker and they both like turn around and they're like, oh, let's talk about you.
Right. Like, you have fallen off the face of the earth and don't reach out to us. And then Sabrina is like, and you and your fiance broke up 6 months ago and you didn't tell us. And then we all learned Sabrina knew all along.
Yeah, her in part. It was all a scheme.
Yeah. Which worked.
A ruse. Yeah.
A ploy. How many other words can we come up with for this?
I don't know. Debacle, a shenanigan.
Ooh, I like shenanigan. That's a good one.
That's it. Okay, I'm gonna paint that on like a wooded piece of like driftwood, Kayla, for me.
I will while I'm up here.
With a little like anchor next to it.
Put it on the Etsy.
Yeah. And then Harriet basically just says like they're all, it's like that sad part of the movie where like one is the loneliest and like she's walking around like by herself, like they're all like, and we get various like flashes to like them all in their separate spaces.
Yeah, sulking alone, thinking about what just happened.
Yeah. But yeah, so she's thinking more about how she hates school or how she hates like medicine and how she was a people pleaser. And there's this quote where she was like, what was school but a chance to prove your worth? And I was like, oh man. I was like, I'm about to crash the car I'm driving. That's like a stab to the heart.
Yeah, I hate that.
So yeah, she decides to like fight for Wyn, and she goes in.
She wants to win.
Yeah, she wants to win. Yeah. Woo. But yeah, then her and Cleo make up. This is when she finds out she's pregnant. And Cleo also, I was like, why am I every single one of these friends? Because then Cleo's also like, well, Kimmy's really extroverted and like she likes to party, and like I'm an introverted homebody, and I always feel like you guys are gonna phase me out because like I don't. And I was like, hard relate, Cleo.
Yeah, she starts feeling a little nervous that her friends like her girlfriend more than her. Like, I don't bring the same energy. And I also feel that, because even in like in friend groups, I'll be more of a tame person, and I'm like, do I even get invited? Do I even like come across people's minds to invite to things, since I'm not as fun to be around? And that's so like, people can love you if you're not the center of attention.
Yeah, you're just like, you do different things with different people. Yeah. This whole book was like stuff that I'm like, okay, this is what you learn in your 20s. About friendships.
Yeah.
Now Sabrina's missing. Oh no.
Yeah, which was kind of a funny little plot tool, I thought. Like, oh, Sabrina has disappeared. And she was in the chapel where her parents got married, which is one of the few positive memories she has with them since they divorced and her dad went on to marry many different people afterward.
And like, not to kill the vibe, but like right before they all like decide to go off and search for her, like Harriet goes down to like Parth by the dock, and like she has to explain to him that like she's like, Sabrina is not like running away because she doesn't want to marry you. She's running away because like, she has in her experience, like fights lead to people leaving instead of like, continuing on and like growing and forgiving each other, whatever. She's like, you don't know that because you have a healthy family. And I just like, I mean, I get that he wouldn't know that because he's a healthy family, but I was like, you guys are getting married. You've known each other for a decade. Feels like this is something that you should have already known.
Yeah, I mean, I am still curious about Sabrina and Parth's relationship. Maybe that's a brand new Emily Henry book because, yeah, I agree. I was like, and I mean, maybe there are just certain things that your best friends know you a little bit differently
Yeah.
than your partner.
And maybe Parth just can't, because his experience is so different. He like doesn't even know to concept, whereas like Harry is like, I see.
Yeah, and we don't know what
like,
the fight was.
Well, they fight. Yeah. Yeah.
I guess we
I
don't
guess
really know. Everybody's fighting with everybody.
it's harder to see what you're lacking or it's hard, like, because he had a positive experience, so he didn't have the like lacking family experience. So it's like easier to see when you have the lacking family experience, like what it's easier to see absence as opposed to like,
Yeah.
I don't know how to phrase that. I can't think of the words. Anyway, they find Sabrina. Yeah, they find her there. They all make up. Woohoo. And they all are friends.
Friends again.
And they have this like really like succinct and like good conversation, like the three of them, the three girls. And I'm just like, for people who are so bad, again, with people who are so bad at communicating with each other, like you sure, like when you actually get down to it, like you sure know have a way with words, all of you.
Yeah. Right. When you can make yourselves have the conversation, it's like when you have a task that you really don't want to do. So you put it off and put it off and put it off. And then when you go to do it, it takes you like 2 minutes and it wasn't nearly as bad as you built it up to be.
Yeah. But it's even like, I'm like, I don't know. Like, it's just for me, like, it's not like, it's like with things like this where you have like a block of talking about it, where you're like, I just feel like I can't talk about this, like, whatever. Even when you sit down to talk about it, like the words that, like, I don't know, there's just like certain words, like Harriet's not like really big with like openly expressing love because like she didn't have that as like a kid, and like my family was, not that there wasn't love, but we weren't very like verbal. Like I love you is like not something that I say casually or that I like feel comfortable saying even as an adult, like even to like friends who are like, every time like we say goodbye, they're like, bye, I love you. I'm like it feels like I'm joking. You know what I mean? It's like, because I feel like when you have that block, like it doesn't just go away when you're given the opportunity to finally say it. I don't know.
Fair.
But Harriet does, whatever they do. Yeah. And so they all make up. They're all friends again. Who Harriet leaves to go to the airport. But then, yeah, she realizes that like, she's like, wait, I want to be with Wyn, this stupid. And then she runs out and then he's getting out of the car. And I feel like that's reminiscent of some movie. I feel like there's like a lot of like, I'm thinking like early, like 90s, early 2000s rom-com.
Like When Harry Met Sally-esque or something.
Maybe. And like the specific scene of like them going their separate ways, but then both having realizations, and like the POV characters like running to go them, and then like they get out of the building and like the person's already there. I don't know. There's something. I feel like that's like a thing. That's a trope.
I agree.
Harriet drops out of residency. Good for her.
Yeah.
And good for her for doing it before she does it. And then she tells her parents. She's like, sorry, guys, you can't talk me out of it. I've already done it. Bye.
Right. I mean, I love the follow your heart. She clearly was not happy in the residency. She loved being in Montana. So really, like, then I also like wonder too, does she love Montana or does she love Wyn so much? And I think it's that she loves Wyn so much, and Wyn loves Montana, and that's where he's meant to be. But this girl has like $200,000 in medical school debt, started doing pottery after she and Wyn broke up, and finds it relaxing, right? Cool. Yeah. Love that for you. First of all, there's a pottery studio in the middle of nowhere, Montana.
Well, and they happen to be hiring. Let me look this up.
And she gets a part, like maybe Wyn's making enough in these fancy pieces of furniture that he can pay off her debt, and that's awesome, right? But I don't know. I thought it was a big move to be like, I guess love is love, right? And you love someone, you're willing to move. So I'm jumping all over the place because I had a lot of thoughts about this. But like when Wyn earlier said, I don't want you to move to Montana for me, like I want you to figure this out for you.
Yeah.
I hated that. I loved it because I thought it was so true. And then it also like began to break my heart. So I was like, oh no, is this going to be one of those romances where they don't end up together? Like I would hate that personally.
We don't do that on the podcast, Kayla.
Okay. I should have known.
We're a happily ever after only.
I support that. But I also like, part of me is like I don't know, the weird like independent feminist part of me is like, good. He recognizes that she needs to like figure some shit out on her own. And I'm glad they can do that together. But I don't know. I was like, the move to Montana, maybe just because for me personally, that sounds like a nightmare. Like
The being in debt or the moving to Montana?
both, but mostly the moving to Montana.
Okay.
Actually, no, both. But just to live there where you know one person. Of course, his mom is great, but like to
Yeah. And his sisters are there too.
yeah, I don't know. I thought that was I'm suspending disbelief. She will be happy. Like I thought
Yeah.
maybe what was going to happen is she would like end up at a private practice or something or like some sort of clinic in rural
Maybe.
Montana. I mean, clearly she hates medicine and would have to finish the residency, but like maybe she would be able to do something that was helping people, that was just what I think she wanted.
Well, she liked the idea of helping people, but then she was like,
Then she
that's
actually
not
hated it.
really, yeah.
I just thought the ending was like a little bit rushed. I'll be honest. I think like oh,
Hmm.
everything is solved. Wynn just said I need to figure shit out on my own, but I have figured it out. And what I've figured out is that I want to be with him in rural Montana forever. Done. And I
Yeah.
was like, all right, okay.
So, I mean, I didn't need everything to be tied up. Like, I was like, I feel like I believe that Harriet has come to a place of self-understanding where like she doesn't need to know exactly what she does next, but
Yeah.
I trust that like she'll figure it out. Also, so I just looked up the population of Bozeman. The population of Bozeman is 55,000. And by comparison, the town that I grew up in is 25,000. So Bozeman's actually not that small. I feel like Emily Henry was pitching this as this like tiny little town, but like it's
Right.
not.
But like again, how many
Yeah, no, I
pottery
get.
studios are in Bozeman, you
I
know?
get it. Yeah. I think it wasn't like she wanted to go anywhere. You know what I mean? It wasn't like it was a decision, move to Montana or do something else. It was, I don't want to do this anymore and I want to leave where I am. So I might as well go somewhere that I did enjoy and like I was happy at. Cause like she doesn't really have like a support system in San Francisco either. I mean, she has
No,
like her
no.
intern friends, but like they don't
One of
really
them
like they
tried to
just
kiss
like
her, you know?
yeah, like they just kind of talk about like medicine, like they talk about their jobs all day. Like they're not actually.
Yeah.
So it's not like she's leaving a support system. In
Yeah.
some ways, she's like going towards one.
Yeah. I think my big critique is just that she never I'm like a full proponent that everyone should spend a good amount of time alone before they move in with
Yeah,
someone, before they live with someone, before they get married, blah, blah, blah. I
yeah,
just, you know, like, all right, personal anecdote time, but I dated somebody for like 6 years, like all
yeah,
high school, all college. And when we broke up, I was so devastated, right? Because I really
yeah,
thought that was it. And in hindsight, like, I really hope he's doing well, genuinely. Like, thank goodness we broke up, right? Because I didn't know who
yeah.
was. I had never spent time on my own enough as an, especially because we started dating so young, but I had never spent time by myself as an adult to figure out what I liked. And I just feel like, they were in a healthy relationship through most of her 20s. So hopefully Harriet did have some time, but she never really figured out how to be on her own 2 feet, except for those
Mm-hmm.
6 months that they broke up. And that's the one piece of advice that both my grandmothers have always given me is like, don't rush into living with someone.
Like know how to be single. Yeah,
How to be comfortable being alone and by yourself.
yeah.
And I know it's a romance, so I'm totally,
No,
and she's like,
yeah,
and I long for the love. I think I love my love, right? I think like aiming for the love that Wyn and Harriet have is awesome. But I was like, girl, you got some figuring out to do. You need to go to therapy,
oh
clearly.
yeah, no, that was the one thing that was missing from like the epilogue chapter where I was like, okay, but she got a pottery job, but like when she go to therapy too, right?
Yeah, and I just want her to like be comfortable in herself and like, I'm glad that
Yeah.
Wyn is there for her and that she found pottery when she was alone. But I just that was what was missing for me was like
Yeah.
this self, like I can do this on my own. Wyn might be your happy place. Haha,
Yeah.
bringing it full circle, but like you got to be okay when you're not in your happy place too. So that was my like wah,
Yeah.
wah, independent woman, feminist, annoying critique of like
Yeah.
be by yourself.
Yeah, I get that. I think it's hard. I think that's like hard with these kinds of like they met young romances, even when it's like this one where it's like a second chance,
Yeah.
like I guess engagement in trouble, like it's usually marriage in trouble, but whatever. It's like hard. Like some people, like sometimes, like sometimes you're just like, I can't do, like, there's a whole subsection of romance books that are bully romances, which are basically like, this person, it's usually a guy, it's usually like an MF romance, like a het romance, and it's usually the guy bullied her in high school, and then like they meet in their 20s again, and like they fall in love, and there's a whole subsection that like love those, and I have never been able to get past that. I've always been like, I'm too good at holding a grudge, and that's probably not healthy, but like the bitterness would not be able to leave me long enough to fall in love with this person.
Look, I mean, I'm doing a PhD out of spite, so I hear you. Like, you're in here for the long haul.
Yeah, but so like, I think there are just like certain things that you just like, you're like, that's just not for me.
I hear that. I think I wouldn't be a fan of the bully trope either. Then I hear that. No, that was I mean, I really did like this book as far as like a fun little romance, and I think it hit on some good themes of like, depression and friendship and things changing, and also being a people pleaser, right? And figuring out who the heck you are, which hopefully she's on her way to doing in her pottery classes.
At one point she makes a vase that's named after Hank, and that's cute. That's so cute.
It's cute, but I was also like, I don't know. I'm like thinking if I died and somebody made a vase, if they named it Kayla, if I'd be like, I'd be like, thanks.
Kayla 6 feet under her.
Like, I just think it was cute, sure, but I also thought it was like silly. Maybe that's just me.
But I think that was the kind of, Hank was a silly guy.
Hank was a silly guy. Hank would have loved the vase, and that's what matters.
Yes.
And Wyn loved the vase. Gloria will love the vase.
Yes. I think for me, like, because Harriet's journey is so much like she was alone for like her, basically like emotionally alone for like her entire childhood until college. Like, so there was that contrast for me where I was like, this second part of her life is about learning how to be with other people. Cause she has that really, she's like, I never learned how to fight like with someone that you care about. She's like, I don't know how to fight with people that I love, because fights always just end with like people going to separate rooms. I didn't really think about that much when I was reading it though. I just thought of that now, like as you were like bringing it up.
Yeah, I also didn't really think about that as I was reading, and I just brought it up right now as I'm like, we're talking about it. It's so easy to pick critiques, and I'll be honest, that is what I'm trained to do. Like, graduate school is all about reading articles and picking all the weak points and criticizing them. So that is where my default is, but
that's where I show my enjoyment. I show my enjoyment for things, but like, if you think about it, like the things you enjoy are the things that you're going to be thinking more about. And when you think more about something, you think more about the details, you find more like quote unquote flaws. That was Happy Place by Emily Henry. Emily, if you're listening and you want to send me an early copy of your next book, that'd be great.
Do it.
All right, Kayla, are you ready for the cat scale?
Yes, I am. I've thought about this, and actually our conversation has even made me think about it more.
So we had a few cat references. Do we think any of the characters are cats? Like Cleo.
I was just gonna say maybe Cleo. Cleo's like a barnyard cat, like a friendly one.
Yeah. And then Kimmy is like the sheepdog. Works alongside her. Totally.
They're like a lab/cat couple. Black cat lab couple.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
that's it.
Yeah, we have one cat. But they weren't like clear dogs either. I think we talked about Wyn.
There weren't. He was kind of Wyn definitely gave me animal vibes, but I feel like you could make an argument for either cat or dog.
Yeah.
Harriet felt too much like me for me to give her animal vibes.
Yeah, I can't. Harriet did not give me animal vibes. Neither cat nor dog. Now I'm thinking about this more. I think that's true. I think I stand by that.
Yeah. Sabrina's a horse, like a thoroughbred. All right. Ready? Got your score?
I do.
All right. 3, 2, 1, 4.
3. Okay, we weren't too far off.
3.5.
3.5. Some cat references. Yeah, I don't think anybody was super animal-like, but there were some references. Cleo had some vibes, so I think a 3.5. Yeah,
Cleo had good boundaries, and that's very cat-like.
That is really cat-like.
Boundaries are very cat-like.
Admirable about cats.
Kayla, is there anywhere that you would like them to find any one of your articles that you're particularly proud of? You
Oh
like them to
gosh.
be able to read?
I
You
don't
don't
have
have to.
anything published, but I have a bunch of things under review. Hashtag publish or perish academia. If you are a political science professor at a university and you're looking to hire an American politics professor, I do have a website. Please hire me.
Oh,
Other
that'll be in the description, listener.
please hire me specifically if you are a university in Boston, DC, New York, or Philadelphia. Thanks. Thank you for letting me
thanks.
talk about Happy Place and Emily
coming
Henry.
On. Thanks for being in Maine appropriately.
Yes, I'm actually going to go have lobster for dinner, which is so appropriate.
All right, listener, you can find us on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok at We Read It One Night, on Twitter at We Read It Podcast. You can go to our Etsy store, Evelyn and Adelaide. All of those will be linked below. You can also buy us a coffee for $5 to help support the podcast. And you can leave us a rating and review, which you've obviously already done because I ask you to do it every episode. And why would you not listen to me? Yeah. All right. Thanks for listening. Thank you to the listener for suggesting it. If you have a listener suggestion, you can email us. We read it one night at gmail.com. And yeah, Godspeed, comrades.
Godspeed.